Welcome. I'm Lynne Casebeer. My pronouns are she, her, and we are all souls, where love is the center of our religion, and we strive to practice and encourage justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, independence, and generosity. At All Souls, we offer respect and gratitude to the earth, the sun, the air, the water, the land, the microbiota, the plants, the animals, to prehistoric inhabitants and indigenous people of this place. In Colorado, those are the Cheyenne, Arapaho, Shoshone, and the many bands of the Utes who occupied these unceded lands for countless generations before the arrival of the Europeans. At All Souls, we honor and learn from people, past and present, who help us to live into our values and make change in the world, starting by making changes within ourselves. We're glad you're here to join us. Now is the time in our service when we get to practice our principle of generosity. We will now take the offering with much gratitude and respect. Thank you.
Not only do you get to hear me sing today, you get to hear me speak. Being a former Christian, I get to read scripture today. Our first reading, this brings back some memories. Our first reading comes from the book of Genesis, chapter 1, and it's verse 27. God created them, male and female. And our second scripture comes from Genesis 2, verses 21 and 22. God took one of the man's ribs and then closed up the place with flesh. Then God made a woman from the rib taken out of the man, and God brought her to the man.
As a former Christian, I get to talk about the man versus bear debate. This reading comes from an article on themarysue.com, and it is entitled Man versus Bear, TikTok Debate Explained. TikTok's recent trending man versus bear debate may have many men have been bizarrely triggered by the trend. The trend began when a popular TikTok account asked 7 women whether they would prefer to encounter a man they don't know or a bear while alone in the forest. All of the women except one chose a bear over the man. Soon the question went viral, with countless women answering it and sharing their reasoning and personal experience. The vast majority of women responded that they would 100% prefer the bear over the man. While the videos that women have posted about their reasoning for choosing the bear are heartbreaking, many men find them offensive. Countless men have made videos and social media posts essentially ranting that women are stupid and bigoted for choosing the bear. One Redditor claimed that the posts are promoting hatred of men and that the trend is making it seem as if all men go around killing and attacking women for no reason. Others have made videos showing the strength and speed of bears and laughing that women are ridiculous for choosing an animal over a man. They're peddling false claims that all women are liars and gold diggers. Many men are saying that every woman choosing the bear is lying. They've also taken to cherry-picking and distorting statistics about violent men and incarceration rates that make it seem like violence against women isn't even an issue in the first place. I'm going to introduce our guest speaker. Our guest minister today is Reverend Beth Elliot. Many of you already know her as our awesome intern minister of the 22-23 church year. Beth considers herself to be a theologically heretical crone who swears a lot. That's why I like her. She's a fierce advocate for a womanist, decolonized approach to theology based in indigenous matriarchies and is a radical universalist. She has over 20 years of experience as an end-of-life doula, has recently graduated from Lilith with a Master of Divinity, and is pursuing ordination as a Unitarian Universalist minister. Beth is the author and the creator of All Souls and the Club Q Vigils, an exploration of how the community came together for lamentation and healing after the devastating mass shooting at Club Q in 2022.
I would choose the bear. If I picture myself alone and vulnerable in the woods, and you asked me if I would rather encounter a bear or an unknown man, I would choose the bear. As the second reading demonstrates, this social media man versus bear or bear versus man trend has revealed some hard truths. The gap in experiences of people who identify as male and people who identify as female can still be a vast chasm. And many cisgendered men still do not fully comprehend the danger that they pose to women, not to mention queer, non-binary, and trans folks. A strange man is undeniably a threat to a woman, and known men are not much better. Stephanie McNeil, in her article, What Does Choosing the Bear Mean?, says, you would be hard-pressed to find a woman-identifying person alive who wouldn't be gripped with fear to turn around in the middle of a lonely expanse of wood to see an unknown man standing there. Our reality is that men harm women every day. And the statistics back her up. According to the UN study on women, globally, an estimated 736 million women, almost 1 in 3, have been subjected to physical and/or sexual intimate partner violence, non-partner sexual violence, or both once in their lifetime. That is 30% of all women over the age of 15. And keep in mind that this figure does not even include sexual harassment. The US currently lacks any equal rights protections. We lack good parental leave policies, and we have, with the Supreme Court's decision on Dodds, actively lost rights and autonomy. So listen, when we're examining structures and social oppression, we are often looking for that shark, right? That menacing thing with teeth, that easy identifiable thing that's coming towards us. But it's not the shark. It's the water. It is everywhere, and we are so used to it that oftentimes we do not recognize it or how damaging it is. In religious terms, we call this an embedded theology, a belief about the world that is so ingrained within us, even when we're ex-Christians, a belief about the world that's so ingrained that we still live them out, even when we are not consciously aware of them. Do you know who else chose the bear? Lilith. If you are not familiar with Lilith, she is a figure found in religious texts and mythologies all over the world. She appears in some versions of Genesis and in the book of Isaiah. She is included in the Babylonian Talmud. Rabbi Eli Freeman believes that in the Torah, she is referenced on the sixth day. So God created humankind in their image. In the image of God, they created them, male and female. God created them. Genesis 1:27. In a medieval Jewish text called the Alphabet of Ben Sirah, they also translate Genesis this way, and Lilith is recognized as the female created. She is described as Adam's first wife, who disobeyed him and God by asserting her equality to Adam. Her punishment for claiming equality with a being that was created at the same time, at the same place, in the same way, by the same God, she was made a demon. They literally demonized her. When Lilith is portrayed as a mother figure in sacred texts or mythologies, more often than not, it is in a very negative light. Her demonic form is associated with infanticide, the death of newborns, reflecting fears and anxieties with allowing strong, independent women to have agency over their own reproductive choices. In Jewish folklore, Lilith is often portrayed as a rebellious figure who refuses to submit to male authority. In the Gnostic Gospels and other early Christian writings, she is portrayed as a rebellious figure who defies the Creator and seeks spiritual liberation. In Islamic folklore and mystical traditions, Lilith is associated with the seduction and corruption of men. Lilith has also been embraced by some neo-pagan and New Age spiritual communities, but there she is a symbol of feminine power, independence, and sexual and spiritual liberation. In these contexts, Lilith is often seen as a goddess figure associated with sexuality, magic, and the moon. Some modern Wiccan and feminist spiritual practices also incorporate Lilith into their rituals and mythologies. And yet, I suspect that most of you, like me, knew very little about her and had never heard her brought up as part of the Bible, which we all know is a massive hegemonic force in our culture. So how do we get from Genesis 1:27, and on the sixth day God created them, to Genesis 2:21-22, God took one of man's ribs and closed up the place with flesh. Then God made a woman from the rib taken from the man, and God brought her to the man. Genesis 2:21-22. Here we get a totally different account in which man is created first and alone, and woman, Eve, is created out of his rib and later designated to be his helper. All right. Let's dig deeper. The Reverend Will Gaffney, PhD, who is a womanist biblical scholar who is qualified to translate biblical Hebrew, Greek, Latin, and Aramaic, points out that the Hebrew word titzla, which represents that which God removed from Adam, actually means side and not rib, as is commonly mistranslated. Ellicott's commentary notes that the word is never translated anywhere else in the Bible as rib, except in this one verse. But in every other instance in the Bible, it is always translated as side. There are profound implications when distinguishing between when a woman was formed out of one of Adam's many ribs, or if she was one whole side of him. And the same goes for the word helper. The word isn't simply neged. The word has a prefix at the beginning and a suffix at the end. The term neged has attached to it the prefix ke. This is a preposition that connotes having the same nature as or consisting of, and the suffix o, which is a third-person singular pronoun, which is translated of him. So putting them together gives you the word kenegdo, and kenegdo means equal to him. Actually, as Reverend Dr. Gaffney explains, the Torah is actually grammatically feminine. So perhaps the better translation is equal to her. For thousands of years, through the hands of thousands of scribes and translators and scholars, a vast majority of whom were male, there has rarely even been a question or note about these discrepancies. Think of the difference in theological reflection when one translation asserts that Eve was created by one rib to be a helper, versus being half of and equal to. But getting back to Lilith. According to the alphabet of Ben Sirah, after they were created at the same time from the same materials, Adam said, "You lie beneath me." And Lilith responded, "You lie beneath me. We're both equal, for both of us are from the earth." According to Rabbi Freeman, Adam then approached God about this uppity woman and requested that maybe God could do something about her. She was banished and made to be a demon, preying on men in their sleep and killing babies. But was Adam punished or even reprimanded for debasing one of God's creations? Nope. He just got a newer, younger model. He got Eve, who he then ultimately blamed for the sin of wanting to eat from the tree of knowledge. And Lilith? Religious leaders were so uncomfortable with the idea of a woman being equal to a man that they, according to Freeman, promoted a worldview that a woman who gets angry at inequity is a monster that tempts men and kills babies. Millennia later, and after tireless efforts by countless advocates for gender equality, we haven't gotten much better. Our society still demonizes women using the same tired tropes from the Lilith story. These devil women, they're pro-choice, anti-life baby killers, and they are angry. In 2017, there were more than 12 million posts in the first hours of the Me Too movement, that online declaration of having experienced sexual assault using the term coined by Tarana Burke. And yet, recently, Cosby and Weinstein's convictions were overturned. There are political platforms seeking to restrict access to birth control. There remains a huge gender pay gap. Figures like Andrew Tate garner millions of followers. Revenge porn is a common occurrence. Elon Musk spouts off about how we need to increase the birth rate, even as our maternal mortality rates, the highest in any industrialized nation, continue to rise. And $83.3 million has yet to be paid. Is it any wonder that Lilith and all female identifying people are angry? But wait. Because we are actually not even afforded that luxury. According to Rebecca Traister, the author of Good and Mad, The Revolutionary Power of Women's Anger, points out that furious female is, as we are told to this day, in innumerable ways, a perversion of nature and our social norms. Powerful women are often perceived as monstrous and perverse, unwell and unwholesome in their challenge to male authority. And these standards are even more unholy for Black women, for whom the angry Black woman trope has become ubiquitous. According to Dr. Vazant, Black women are not expected to feel disappointed or hurt, not given the time to be sad or grieve, not entitled to feel violated or diminished, not expected to experience or express feelings of being lost or confused, or in some instances, even human. How Black women express themselves has historical, political, and social implications that are rarely acknowledged or addressed truthfully or authentically. Just like the very first myth about a Black woman, Lilith. And just as the slightest alteration in translation can dramatically change the meaning of a sacred text, demonizing women's anger serves as a way to keep all women identifying people out of the proverbial Garden of Eden. And by trapping women with few or no reproductive choices, forcing them to give birth, and even legally allowing rapists to choose the unwilling mother of their children, then we not only diminish them as human, we reinforce society's discomfort with their anger, legitimizing the cycle. And you do not have to be Christian to be impacted by embedded theologies created by the Eve and Lilith mythologies, because the faith serves as a hegemonic force. It is the water in which we all swim. What feminine anger really does is break convention. It represents a challenge to power and a disruption to social order. Those who dare to be angry serve as a threat to the status quo. They must be silenced, ridiculed, banished, or controlled. Adam can get as angry as he wants, and he still has his place in the Garden of Eden. Lilith, the moment she exerts her equality with even the slightest bit of anger, gets transformed into a demon. And these patterns still exist today. Keep an eye on, say, any white man and Black woman who might be competing for the same job. Say, president of something. But demons are powerful. In Judith Plaskow's short story, The Coming of Lilith, she imagines a new ending to the Lilith Midrash. In Plaskow's version, Lilith seeks to return to Eden. She tries to breach the walls of the garden, and each time she is rebuffed by Adam, he builds the wall stronger. Yet Lilith persists. Adam, fearful that Lilith will infect Eve with her ideas of equality, tries to keep Eve away from her. Yet Lilith persists. Plaskow ends the story, and Adam was afraid of the day Eve and Lilith returned to the garden, bursting with possibilities, ready to rebuild it together. The embedded theologies that permeate the US culture matter. Now, the Bible might be just one of the many sources that Unitarian Universalists use as grounding to our spirituality and our faith. But it is a major influence in this culture at this moment. We need to be fluent in sacred texts that dominate our landscape and how they are wielded by those in power. We can choose to listen to Black womanist scholars like Reverend Dr. Will Gaffney when they show us the flaws in previous translations and understandings, because everyone carries those embedded theologies, and they are displayed in our culture, in our politics, in our own lives. We need to examine these hegemonic forces to see which are life-limiting and which are life-affirming. Because it doesn't end with the man versus bear debate. So today, I evoke Lilith, my patron saint of defiance, resistance, and anger. And when I find myself in the woods, and I hear a noise, and I don't know if it's a man or a bear, I'm going to take my cue from Lilith, and I'm going to get angry and become a demon. Reality is the great cosmic womb. If our central religious figure is not a man dying on a cross, but a woman giving birth, then love of life and not fear of death can be our theological grounding. Blessed be.